A gist in empty words. While transmigrating through the 6 paths, there's no one for company. Alone we are born, alone we die. Full of sorrow this road of birth and death. From summit heaven above clouds to deepest Avicii hell below, there's not one niche we haven't held in accord with karma, good and evil. Thus, we rarely obtain birth in the good realms of men and devas, always making the 3 evil paths our abode and scarcely emerging. In black ropes or hell of throngs we scorch to the bone. On bristling sword mountain, in bladed trees, our livers are rent. Turning into famished ghosts, we hunger for food, and grievous recompense too is the stupidity of beasts. When this self that suffers such pain and affliction escapes for a little from the 3 evil paths and chances to take on human existence, why then do we not loathe birth and death? Although we become human in form, our worldly desires know no end. As for our suffering in body and mind, a respite from hell is of no avail. A lust for things at the heart's roots is no different from recompense as a famished ghost. To vie in harboring malicious intent is precisely the life of beasts. The self that, conjuring up such delusive thoughts, hastens on, mindful only that dawn's come or dusk, is bound by the chains of the 5 desires, and will not quit this burning house. How miserable it is! Though we see out 1,000 autumns, a myriad years, the interval is still but a lightning flash. Sun and moon cannot be detained in their course, and presently death's hour arrives. The pains of birth, aging, sickness, and death make exceptions of no one. Indiscriminately they come to noble and common, mighty and low, neither poor nor rich have escape. As long as the glistening dew of life abides, one must polish its jeweled abode, the flourishing body. But the winds of impermanence blowing just once, and the form, life's flower, is dispersed. Assuming the millions of things in the world, from father, mother, wife, and child, to treasured possessions and dwelling place, all exist as such solely for your sake. You care for yourself with tender concern, but when time comes for the soul to depart alone, abandoning even your body, who then will see you off down the dark path? Though family and relatives gather, and, wailing aloud, cling to the corpse, drawn by your karma you go wandering in delusion. Hard it is to wake from the nightmare of birth and death. But once we have heard these truths, we no longer cherish body, life, or possessions. Thoroughly casting aside the realm of delusional thought, we become a person standing alone. In the space of vast kalpas and countless lives, every being has been our mother and father. We must take all sentient beings as companions, then, and quickly attain the Pure Land. To reach the borders of the uncreated, just let go. This is genuine gratitude. Give away to sentient beings everywhere the Nembutsu emerging from your lips. And though you have no settled dwelling to consider a permanent home, since, after all, houses abound, you'll never be drenched by the rains. In sheltering bodily existence a while, householder and you are one. When, in the end, a person abandons it and departs, what does being owner amount to? Realizing the world's always been a house on fire, we don't clamor to find it being consumed by flames. And though we observe much that is ruined and worn, we've no will to make repairs. Where a single mat is spread out, we feel no confinement. Rising and retiring with the utterance of the name is the abode where no delusions arise. Halls for Nembutsu practice are all superfluous. The name, Namu Amida Butsu that I keep, whether walking, standing, sitting, or reclining, is my altar statue, one far too precious for me. Being indisposed toward desire for gain, I won't collect donations as a wandering monk. Never free from the 5 faults of impure preaching, I have vowed not to teach the Dharma. With aversion for sect superiors and their pomp, I have no wish for monk disciples. Not in search of lay supporters, I court the favor of no one. In the brief span this body exists, clothing and food are of course indispensable, but knowing them to be fruits of former lives, I don't strive to obtain them at all. I do not roam about begging, expending many words, nor flatter, nor seek, nor speak of wants. And still, after all, people give me alms, just enough to sustain my life. If I end up unprovided with even that, I will certainly starve to death. Dying, I will be born in the Pure Land, where there is wondrous sustenance. Since I have no taste for worldly success, my garments are always random. Trusting that others will clothe me as they may, I root myself in carelessness. Padded robe, thin hemp, or paper garb, an old straw mat as scrap of rain cloak. Since it's but to stave off the chill, I count on what there is to cover myself. The food to support my life is what I happen on, just as it is. Since I am not one to lament my death, I shun nothing as a cause of disease. Nor am I one to be pained by weakness, so I desire nothing for the sake of strength. Giving no thought to hue of vitality, I'm unconcerned about relishing tastes. Both the good and the evil that I do are karma for transmigration in birth and death. Hence, in all the 3 realms and 6 paths, there is nothing at all that I envy. When we recite Namu Amida Butsu, taking refuge in the Buddha, we are illumined by the light that grasps every being, and ours becomes true service to Amida. From that moment, Avalokiteshvara and Mahastama Pramta are our good companions. Why should we seek fellow practicers? When all Buddhas bestow their protection, we need fear no unforeseen dangers. Even coming to know these truths is solely by virtue of the Buddha's benevolence. When we realize this, joy awakens within us, and more the Nembutsu rises to our lips. If not for the sake of all sentient beings, there's no point in my roving through this world. One year I journeyed to the Kumano shrine while worshipping at the Hall of Witness. I received a miraculous revelation in a dream, and I passed my life trusting in what it said. Not counting on it for my own afterlife, it's for the benefit of all universally. But how should those who trust only in my personal existence that's filled with impurity and in the end to be thrust aside as dirt gain any benefit? And those who slander me do no evil. But with the name that we utter with our lips, through its virtues that surpass conceivability, all those within the borders of perception and conception will waken from the dream of birth and death. It benefits both those who entrust to it and those who revile. The name that embodies other power beyond conception is indeed the body of practice existing primally, without beginning. Do not think it's practiced now for the first time. Buddha nature is fundamentally one, without distinction of illusion and enlightenment. But chancing to stir up delusional thoughts, we imagine ourselves in illusion. It's absurd. Amida Buddha's primal vow, though, is given to beings entangled in illusion. It is for the sake of the foolish and ignorant, so neither wisdom nor eloquence is required. Nor is almsgiving or observance of precepts. The transgressions of monks need bring no despair, since all are embraced whether meditative or non-meditative. Nothing ever obstructs us, whatever we are about. There is no discrimination between good and evil, so the person of karmic evil is not abandoned. Since no good practice brings about birth, I don't strive to accumulate roots of good. I don't toy with my manner to make it attractive, don't adorn myself for the eyes of others. Since I do not rely on my mind and its contrivances, even desire for enlightenment has died away. The name of the Buddha of immeasurable life, which lies beyond the light and wisdom of the Buddhas, is not a dharma of illusion and enlightenment. Hence, Amida is praised as Buddha of unfathomable light. In the moment of entrusting to this dharma, there is no separation between Buddha and sentient being. The activity of each, in body, speech, and mind, never parts from the other. Hence, Amida is called Buddha of unhindered light. Putting a halt to all deliberation and design, reverently entrust yourself to the Buddha, and to the very end of breath's passage in and out, say, Namu Amida Butsu.